Hey everybody, so um, these are little videos I'm gonna call, no, that's not correct English. These are little videos I'm gonna call throw-ins, something like that. Okay, so they they're just interesting videos within which I throw in amongst all the other videos to make it more entertaining. Otherwise it's just same thing over and over, and anyway, it's my video, so I decide what I want to put on my video. Anyway, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the shark nets, the anti-shark nets. You've heard of them maybe before. Many of you may have heard of them. Many of you may not have. But they use shark nets in Australia and in South Africa. South Africa was actually the first country in the world to start using shark nets, and this was years ago, many years ago. And up in Natal on our east coast, we got an organization called the Natal Sharks Board, the Natal Sharks Board. But before they were called the Natal Sharks Board, they were called the Natal Anti-Sharks Board, so the Anti-Sharks Board. And it was started by a friend of my father's. She's passed away, and so is my father, unfortunately, and her name is Beulah Davis. And this was in the 50s, and it was after a spate of shark attacks along the Natal coast. Now, Natal is warm water, it's subtropical, and it's warm water, so they set up these shark nets. Now, what I want to explain to you about the shark nets is how they work. And I'm not criticizing the shark nets, or I'm not propagating the shark nets. I'm just explaining to you exactly how they work. And people, especially in South Africa, even to today, after all these years, many people I speak to believe that the shark nets put out by the Sharks Board, or the Anti-Sharks Board, the Natal Anti-Sharks Board, I just call it the NSB, Natal Sharks Board. And I've done a lot of work with them over the years, and I'll tell you about that as well, on different repellents and things they've been testing. And I knew all the guys at the Sharks Board, good bunch of guys. But the nets are not a barrier. People believe that the shark nets are a barrier to keep the sharks away from the bathers, but they're not. The shark nets are staggered, so it's like a big square like that in the water. I'm not exactly sure of the dimensions of a shark net, but it's a big net like that, and it's anchored sort of mid-water. So there's a big gap on top of the net, and there's a big gap between the bottom of the net and the seabed, and the nets are staggered like this. So you have one net here, and then you have another net there. So you have a net here, then you have a net there. If you can see one, okay, like that. And then the next net will be staggered backwards like this. So sharks can swim over the nets, they can swim between the nets, they can swim under the nets. The nets are not a barrier. The shark nets are gill nets. They are fishing nets. And I'm going to show you a picture here. This, let me get close. Okay, so there you can see, it's a bit of a glare, sorry, but there you can see a big great white shark that's been hauled out of the water, that had been caught in the nets, one of the shark nets, and that is a Natal Sharks Board boat. And the dead great white shark is now being dragged onto the boat to be taken back to sea. Be taken back to the NSB, the Natal Sharks Board headquarters, where the shark will be put into a freezer and then eventually dissected. And the main researcher at the Sharks Board, I don't know if he's still the main researcher there, is a very experienced guy called Jeremy Cliff. And anyway, so that's the point. The shark nets are not a barrier. They are gill nets. They are fishing gear designed to capture and kill as many large sharks as possible. And in so doing, with the population of sharks along that whole coastline, there's quite a long stretch of coastline where they've got nets different beaches and stuff, because it's a big holiday vacation area. The nets are designed to bring the population of sharks down, and with less sharks in the water, less chance of an attack. And they're extremely successful, because I can't even remember when the last attack took place on the Natal coast where there are shark nets. The tragedy of it, unfortunately, is that they kill sharks. They kill a lot of sharks, they kill a lot of great white sharks, and they definitely have had a profound impact on the white shark population along our coastline. So they're not good. The shark nets are not good. But in my opinion, my humble but opinionated opinion, is that the shark nets they should be removed, and they should no longer be there. I mean, here in the Cape, we have shark attacks. We had a fatal shark attack just the other day, but we don't have any shark nets along the Cape Coast, anywhere along the Cape Coast, but we have shark attacks. There was one year where we had 12 shark attacks, and we still don't have shark nets. But the Natal Shark Sport have become it's a machine. So they've become big, and they've got many staff and boats, and it's a big operation. And to just stop the nets would mean a lot of people out of work, would mean the machine must stop, etc., etc. So a lot of politics involved. And it's a bit of a hypocrisy as well, because the great white shark is protected along our coastline. You need a license to go work with them in a nice manner where you actually, you're not trying to harm them. But in Natal, the Natal Shark Sport legally catch and kill the great white sharks. But that's not my point here. The point is to just tell you that they are not a barrier. They are gill nets designed to bring the population down, and thus diminish the chance of a shark attack. But they also catch a lot of turtles, they catch dolphins, they entangle small whales, they catch a lot of sharks which are not dangerous, because along our coastline the only dangerous sharks is the great white shark, the tiger shark, and the bull shark, or the Zambezi shark as we call it. And these nets catch these sharks all the time. And just think about this yourself, just be logical now. If these nets are so successful that we haven't had a shark attack along that coastline, the Natal coastline, for many, many years, then the nets must be extremely effective, and they must be catching, and they have been catching, an enormous amount of large sharks, because the sharks still swim over the nets, under the nets, between the nets. They swim into the bathing areas and surfing areas, and they swim out again. And then, but very, very often, while they're swimming in, they get caught into the nets, and a large percentage of these sharks are actually caught while trying to swim out away from the beach, and then they swim into these gill nets, and they're killed. And they tangle, and they drown, and they kill. It's very cruel, it's terrible. But now you understand how shark nets work. And that's the point of this video. Next one.